Good morning, friends, neighbors, and fellow YouTubers. This morning we're going to roll over to a job I was at last night. Today is July the 29th. And she called, said, not cooling. She called me about 8:30 and I said, I'll be over there in about 10 minutes. Because most of the time, this is very unusual for me, most of the time I'm not working 10 minutes away from my house, I'm working 45. So it's a treat this morning to drive 10 minutes to my job. So anyway, so I get there, unit's frozen up, the heat pump, throw it in heat, and I've got my gauges on it, on the common suction port and the liquid side, and it is running a 100-pound suction and a 400 head, and I knew right then I had a problem. So I did let it thaw out, put it over in cooling, running a 76 suction, a 187 head, and a 1.1 degree superheat. So I knew there was actually a problem. So we're gonna go over there, pull the coil, clean it, because it is dirty. I tried to actually clean some of it off last night, but you know, just dirty. So anyway, we'll see you over there. Alright, so we're at the unit and just got here, getting ready to pump it down, and as you see, there's no disconnect on the wall. None. So I've got the fan running in on position. I'm gonna hold the contactor in, I'm gonna pump it down and get it going. But when I went in and talked to the lady, she said the house is never cooled as good as what it did last night. It's 70 degrees in there right this minute. And all I did was just clean a little surface dirt. But when we get it to the coil, when we get it pulled out, I'll show you, the thing is completely stopped up. I'm gonna pump this thing down. I'm gonna get it pumped down and we'll see you when we get to the inside. Here we are at the inside unit, and if you look down there, inside that cooler, all that stuff that's in there. When I was here last night, of course the coil was wet because it was frozen up, so I was just kind of trying to peel off as much as I could. But apparently what I did worked, because she said it's never been this cool inside the house, and I just pulled a little bit off. So imagine how it's going to cool when I get this thing completely cleaned. Now, like I said, I did do a leak check on this thing before I even said anything about cleaning it, because it is a 10-year-old unit, and you know as well as I do, with a 10-year-old unit, chance of having a leak are pretty great. Now, when I checked the Freon last night, like I said, I had a 79-pound suction and a 187 head, and if you don't check superheat, the pressures would have looked fine and the house would never cool. So now today we should be okay after we get this thing cleaned. So let's get it pulled out. Alright, here's our coil out. Here's our friendly helper today. But here is our coil out. You see how the dirt is coming out of the coil? Well, this thing is completely plugged. And this is what I was able to reach my arm into last night and pull some of this stuff out of here, but it was completely caked. And just by removing that much, I became their hero. She said last night was the first night she'd ever had to use her blankets. And it was still running a 1 degree superheat. So we'll get this thing going. I'm gonna spray it out really good with coil cleaner. Got it right there. Got my hose, and we will get these people going. And the best part is, I just gained a new customer. They actually have a maintenance contract with a big company that's been in business here for 40 years, and they will no longer ever come to this house, according to the lady. Alright, so I got my coil cleaner on here, spraying it off, just now starting to spray it. Spray this side really good. And then once we get this side sprayed good, then I'll flip it over. We'll get in the drain pan there, clean it out too. Alright, now we got it sprayed down with coil cleaner. And we may wind up having to give it a second shot because, you know, it is pretty dirty. Clean the drain pan. But this is how you clean it. You notice I got my ends taped up because I don't want any water in the system at all. So we'll start on this side here, and once we get the outside clean, we'll blow as much as we can back to the inside, and then we'll flip it over and blow out the inside. And like I said, we'll probably have to wash this thing 2 or 3 times to get it really clean. And then tonight, she thought she was going to have to use 1 blanket last night. She'll have to use 2 tonight. But when you can do this kind of stuff, you'll gain a customer forever. Yes, the system is 10 years old, and it probably needs to be changed. But they just had a brand new baby, and they're going through a lot of expenses because the baby was premature, and so they just don't have the money right this minute. But they know that it's old, and they're living on borrowed time with it. So we'll get them going, and then when it does come time to get changed, they will change it. So when you're spraying this thing out, you don't want to just spray the dirt straight in, because then you're pushing the dirt back into the coil. So you kind of spray at an angle, and that way it pushes it. Alright, reach in there. Grab that stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to strengthen our coil cleaner mixture. So we really get that stuff foaming out of there. Alright, we are on our 3rd coil wash. And now, the second one did really well, but I'm just doing the 3rd one just to make sure everything's out of there. See what it looks like underneath. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, if there's anything in there, it's going to get boiled out of there. And this thing will run like brand new. Or at least as best it can. She did say that the last guy was here. They caught him out for a water leak, and he did put a trap in it, but I'm guessing it was frozen up before and thawed out and leaked on the floor. And I guess he put his gauges on it, but without checking superheat, you'll never know. You would just say, oh, things are good, even though they're telling you it's never cooled since they've been there. I'm gonna get that sprayed out and go put it in. Alright, that is the coil after its 3rd wash. That's all we're gonna do. We'll mix rolling up the hose. I'm gonna carry this down to the air handler. He's gonna grab the expanders and the torches. We're going to expand that line right there, braze it in, and get the vacuum pump out and pull a vacuum using our micron gauge, and then we'll set the pressure. Alright, so I got the coil in place, and this actually is a replacement coil. So this coil was leaking at one time and it's been replaced. I don't know when. I can tell because it's missing the horizontal drain pan that normally comes in the old Goodmans, and this little piece was cut out there. So so this is a replacement coil. So I took my swedger, swedged it, raised it in. There's my swedger, or my expander, sorry. But I'm gonna go out, start pulling a vacuum, and while I got the vacuum pump going, I'll come back in here and put everything back together. Alright, got the vacuum pump going, got the micron gauge on it. We're already down to 400 microns. As you can see it, 300 microns. So I'm assuming that coil doesn't have a leak on it. No wonder I couldn't find one last night. Somebody had put a lot of Freon in this thing. So of course there's no way of knowing what pressures are with that dirty coil. So and that's something else I want to touch on. If all you're doing is depending on what your superheat is, and let's say it's 75 in the house, and you have a 55-pound suction, but you have your target superheat at 21 degrees, there's actually a problem. So you got to know what your pressures are kind of supposed to be, and then what your superheat is supposed to be. If all you're doing is depending on what your superheat is, then it's not going to work very well. Go back in there, put the thing back together, and hopefully by then, well, there's no hopefully to it, we're already down in 150. So the vacuum will be pulled, and we'll be ready to start it up. Alright, well, I just got it started up, and I'm waiting on my little compadre to bring a tool bag to me so I can put my temperature probe on here so I can check superheat and put everything back together. But as you see, we got a 61-pound suction, 170 head, and I believe we will be, well, we're going to let it run for a few minutes, but I think we may be alright actually. So let's wait and get the probe on there so we can see what the temperature is. Alright, got my temperature probe on there, and as you see I got about a 70-pound suction, 0 degree superheat, and so it tells me it's overcharged. So I've got my recovery cylinder out here. I'm going to start letting some Freon out of it and get about, because it's about 74 in there now. I'm going to shoot for about a 65-pound suction and about a 15-pound or 15-degree superheat. But now this system has some other issues on it, so I don't know if I'll be able to get my desired superheat because the ductwork, and this house was built in 1961, so we've got some ductwork issues along with it. So I probably won't get my desired superheat, but I will get it to where it's not zero or whatever. Got to do this kind of slow because I don't want to let too much of it out and then have to start back up again. And then it's cool out here. It's not even 80. It's about 75 out here today. So anyway, we'll get it going and see what we got. Alright, so I've let some out. We still at a 0 degree superheat, but we're going to keep working on it and see what'll happen. I also want you to look at this suction line here. What? And see how much it's sweating? Yeah. Well, if the suction line is sweating like that, then that means that you're overcharged. You know, they're supposed to be cool and sweaty a little bit, but when they sweat like that, that definitely means they're overcharged. So if you see one sweating that bad, it's got an issue. Alright, so I got everything set. We're at 13 degree superheat, 12.8, 13, 64.7.
176 head. That's not bad for, what is it, a house built and using 1961 ductwork. A 3-ton system that when I got here last night, the house was 83 degrees and getting hotter. So now I'm going to go in there, check airflow at some ductwork at some supply registers, and tell her to get her second blanket out for tonight. Now, before I end this video, I want to give props to the big company that they had their maintenance contract with, and I want to thank you for letting me have a new customer, and you're losing one. Anyway, y'all have a good day.